it's been a while since I've done a journal cover tutorial, and Tiny Pandora has this gorgeous tribal silk screen in the shop now, and I wanted to use it on a journal cover. So let me go through some of the supplies I'm going to use and tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do it. So this is the new silk screen, and I'll show you how to silk screen in a little bit. And I'm doing the silk screen in Premo white and a Souffle purple, and we'll do a Skinner blend from it. And with the tribal, I thought what would look nice would be some feathers. So I have these cling stamps, I guess they're called. And I'm not sure how well you can see that one. Maybe there you can. This is a dream catcher. And then I had two long feathers, two different types. And I push them into silver clay. This is just silver metallic clay. And I did not put them on the acrylic block to stamp them. I stamped them by putting the clay down and then put the stamp on the clay, and then I gently cut it out. That was the job. And I'm also thinking about putting little feather charms going down the side of the journal, and I'm going to use my Etch and Pearl tool to make little purple pearls to hook a little eye screw in, and we'll get to those in a little bit, to actually hook a jump ring on to be able to hook these little charms going down the side. So let me get this much out of the way, because that will come later. Here's the journal I'll be using, and it does have some embossing inscription. It goes in, you know, it's like sunk, excuse me, sunk in, so you won't see it. But this is the journal I've chosen to use. You can get these anywhere. This is just a faux leather. And I went on and rolled out and put together my clay for the Skinner blend. And I did it in the long triangles. And it's a little bit hard to get a Premo and a Souffle clay together. But this is what my Skinner blend's going to be out of. And to get the angles, I used the tool from the kit, Blends and Beads, I think it is, from Tiny Pandora, to get some triangle cuts that I needed smaller, because I wanted some smaller pieces of white and purple in different places, so it'd be more of a thorough blend. So let me get this blended. Let me show you. I'm going to fold it up, matching collar to collar this way. I rolled this out on a number 3 on my atlas. And the first pass through my pasta machine, I'm going to roll it out on a number 1, since I have two thicknesses here of the number 3 rolled out, and you don't want to spring your gears in your pasta machine. So let me get this done, because I have a motor on my machine that's noisy. So let me get this Skinner blend done, and I'll be right back. Okay, I ended up taking this down to a setting number 4 to get my silk screen to fit on it. And that's fine, because you don't need a thick piece of clay to do a journal cover with. If you've never silk screened before, I took one of these ends off. Mary Joy Coleman at Old Joy Creations, INC, created these silk screens for Teresa, and they're wonderful. Peel off, it comes with a plastic backing. Most silk screens do. Peel it off or you're not going to be able to silk screen. Lay your silk screen down on your clay. And I gently rub over it with my hand to get my air bubbles out if there's any in there. And then I will take my burnishing tool and just lightly run over it to make sure my silk screen is in my clay. And it is shiny side down. The side that the plastic was on is a shiny side. That's the side that sticks down to your clay. And put that on there. I'm using regular apple barrel black paint. And this paint's quite thin. And I'm going to spread some on there. And then I'm going to take my silk screening squeegee. And I'm going to run over top of it. And just gently press the paint down into the silk screen. And with larger silk screens, I find the big squeegees to work well. If I only want a bit and a piece of a silk screen, you can actually cut an old credit card or gift card up and use it depending on what size you need for the design you're working on. And you just gently put your paint on the silk screen, and where your open designs are, the paint goes through. And where the open places, the light places that you saw on here, are where the holes are in your silk screen that your paint goes through. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of holes to get your design on there. And you're just pushing your paint, mica powder, pastel chalk, pan pastels, whatever you're using to silk screen with, through there. Okay, this is pretty well done. Just going to wipe off my squeegee. Run it back over to get the excess clay out. The excess paint out. And off to the side, off camera, I have a bowl of water with a liquid soap in there. And I'm going to gently lift up my silk screen and peel it back. Here's my silk screen design, and my silk screen itself is going into that bowl of soapy water. Now this needs to thoroughly dry. I can't move it. Let me see if I can get the camera moved to where you can see it all. Because I can't move the silk screen. It's wet. And I want this paint to thoroughly dry before I do anything else to it. Okay, my paint's dry now. So I'm going to lift up my clay with the silk screen on it. And we'll use my Mega blade and slide at a 45-degree angle. I'm pushing my blade down to the my glass surface to get my clay up so I can get the rest of this wet paint up. And as you can see, the wet paint's coming up on the back of my clay from being on my glass surface, but I don't want to cut my clay getting it off the glass surface. And here is a silk screen. Okay, I think I want it this way because I want the dark purple over here on the side. And just because it's not coming all the way to the edges, that's okay with me. It's going to come all the way to the edge over here on this side. It's not going to meet the bottom and the top, and that's okay. This Mega blade is long enough to cut this off in one piece, and Tiny Pandora has the Mega blades in stock again, I do believe. And it's so much easier to cut this in one piece than it is to try to come down the side with and I can fold this, even though it has this little black strip of paint on it, I can fold that and run it back through the pasta machine. You never know that strip of paint's there. We'll cut off this side. That's a pretty blend for earrings and a pendant. My center focus is going to be the dream catcher, so let me pick up my clay and put it straight on a line. So I will keep this straight. That's what's so good about these gridded glass boards. You can lay everything right on a straight line and keep everything that you want straight. Because sometimes if you don't, you'll think it looks straight, but it's really not. And let's see, do I want to put it this way? Or do I want to turn this around and put it more in the center and not cover up all of this top design? Two feathers and see if I actually want them on there or not, or if I just want the dream catcher on there. I have two different types of feathers. Yeah, I think I do. And I'm just going to put one at the bottom and one at the top. And because this is raw clay to raw clay, I can just gently press it down and it will stay. If I had baked the silk screen sheet first and then decided to put on my stamped cutouts, I would have used liquid clay to attach the two. Reflex Violet. I'm going to use a brush, a little detail brush, and I'm going to go across here sideways because I want to try to keep the Pearl X powders, the mica powders, on the top part and not down in the grooves. And I want to try to keep it on the feather and not on my silkscreen background. And I don't want a lot, I just want enough to make it, you know, just a little bit glittering or a little bit shiny and sparkly. I'm just lightly putting a little bit of mica powders on my brush and just rubbing over it very gently. So I'll be able to show you all the difference in pulling off the mica powders with the Scotch tape to put some more mica powder on this bottom leaf. It has a different type of design to it, and I just think it may look better with more mica powder in there. Lid on the mica powder, because if you've ever spilled mica powder, you know what a mess that can create. Now this is just regular Scotch tape, and I'm going to set it on top of my leaf, and I'm just going to gently go over it, and I can remove as much or as little of the mica powders as I want. All of the mica powder off the raised up areas of my stamp. Let's see if you can see that. See how the mica powder has stayed down in the crevices, unlike up here. Up here it's just on the raised up areas. On this feather it's just on the raised up areas. But down here, the mica powders are down in the crevices and away from the raised up areas where I've pulled it off with that tape. Now, and I think I will measure these so I can get them evenly on there. And I have 20 centimeters almost to work with here. About 19 and a half. So if you don't have Etch and Pearl tools from Sculpey, one end's pointed and it is a cone-shaped rod, and then you have a hole in the end. So I'm going to hold that there and that there. And the center of my thing, of my sheet of clay, being 19 and a half. 10 would be 20 and a half. So a half would be 9 and a quarter. So about right here, and I want to bring it over enough. And I'm just going to put a little dot with the pointed end of my tool, my Etch and Pearl tool. And then half a 9 would be 4 and a half. So a little bit more would be, because I'm going to divide this in half as well. And put a little hole there. And half of it this way would be, let me pull this down where you can see what I'm measuring with. So this one would be about, let me get that lined up, 4 and a half. So that one would be there. And let me see how long these are on here. So one would go here. And one would go here. I only may end up putting 3 on here, just because I think that may be all we need. I think 3 looks better. So I'm going to take this dark purple strip that I cut off of the sign a while ago. And I will take my rounded end of my Etch and Pearl tool, because this is how I'm going to put the eye screws into the clay and hold it. And you just take your Etch and Pearl end, and this is the largest of 3. They come in a set of 3, small, medium, and large. This is the large one. And I will try this on a piece of scrap clay, because I want to see how big this is. And so you've got your, it's actually like a pearl. It has a rounded top on it. So I believe I need to double this. And let me roll over it. This is my really small cane bender. God, these things are so good for so many things. I'll make sure those 2 layers of clay are together. And I find that I have a tendency to be less heavy-handed if I use a small little cane bender or something. And it looks better. Sometimes they come out and stay in the Etch and Pearl tool, which is really cool, because then all you have to do is put your Etch and Pearl tool on there, or they work like any other cutter. Here's one that stayed in. See the end of the clay, the end of the tool has the clay in there. So I'm going to press that right there and turn, and it went right there, and that's where I'm going to hook that eye screw in. Clean the edges of your circle of your tool off when you're working with them. If not, those edges will be messy looking and not clean. There's my other one. And I just lined them up with the holes that I put in there, or the little marks I put in there. And there's my 3 dots on there. There's the first one. Let me zoom back out. And turn it around so y'all can see what it looks like. This is where I'm going to put the first eye screw in to hold my feather charm, the second one and the third one. And this is all got my mica powder on it, and it's ready to bake. Okay, let's talk about baking. A flat sheet of clay that you want to stay flat. I have a small cookie sheet, and I happen to bake in my regular kitchen oven all the time. So I bake on cookie sheets and parchment paper. And I've laid my design flat in the sheet. I laid another piece of parchment paper on top of it. And I'm going to lay my tiles on top of here, and that will keep it flat while it's baking. I use my kitchen oven to bake in, with an extra thermometer to check my temperature. And I will bake this. It's Premo white and Souffle purple, which are both Sculpey clays. They bake at 275 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake them for 30 minutes. And then we'll come back and finish everything up. Okay, it's all baked, and I decided that the purple, let me get it so we can see it, the purple was a little bit too dark on my feathers and on my dream catcher. So what I did, I like using the Sculpey silver metallic and gold metallic that comes in their silk screening kits. It's a really nice thick metallic paint, and I just went along the outside edges with a detailed brush, and what was sticking up I just painted silver, and I went all the way around and did the inside little details on the inside of the dream catcher there, and around the edges particularly on the feathers hanging down, just to lighten them up a little bit and to make them show up a little bit. The purple on the mica powder was a little bit matchy-matchy with the color of clay in the background. So I did that, and I was sure you didn't want to watch me paint, so I did most of it off camera. Okay, I put one of the feather charms on so you could see it. It's dangly. I used a little pin vise with a drill bit on it. And I go into the hole that I made to begin with before it was baked, when it was raw. And I just go in and make a little hole. I take my tiny little ice screw and I hold it in a pair of pliers. And I literally screw it into the clay. Sometimes you can do this just with your fingers, but sometimes it's easier for me to do it with a pair of pliers. And you just screw it in like, I think I can keep it. You just screw it in. And the threads on the eye screw will go down into the clay and hold it there. Now you can do the same thing on pendants and earrings or anything you need to hook a jump ring to. Sometimes if it doesn't grab hold, you can add a drop of super glue and it'll hold up there. And this is just going through the back just enough to come out the bottom. And that's okay on a journal cover. If you were putting this into a pendant or earrings, it wouldn't matter. It would just screw down into your clay. And then I'll hook a jump ring onto the little, let's see if I can get it to where you can see it. I'll add a jump ring onto the eye screw and onto my feather, and I'll hang it on there. But I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to put on this new product from Tiny Pandora. It is a new matte finish. And it is fantastic. It does not require a UV light. It dries just in the air and it takes very little time to dry. So I want to put this on over all of this. So it'll go on the silk screen, the mica powders, and the acrylic paint with no problem. I also decided to make for this an ink pen. And I had a little tribal silk screen that I used my blend that I had left over from where I cut out on my journal cover, if you'll remember. And I silk screened it in dark purple. I get all these pen sets. This is a Fun Line Slim Line pen kit from Penn State. And everything you need to make one ink pen comes in one kit. And I'll get it assembled and put it together and show you the end product. And I also made a pen holder. And this will hold the ink pen in place in here, just like this. I did the same purple veneer with the same silk screen to match the ink pen and put it on there, and I used another feather stamp and put some in silver metallic, put some black mica powder on it and hooked it onto the front of it so it will set this way. Here's my signature stamp on the back of the feather. and my signature stamp, which y'all know is an apple, on a little disc on the corner here. So let me get the glaze on all of this wonderful new finish, which is already on part of the pen holder. I had to try it out. It was a new product. And you can see there isn't any here, but there is here, and it's a matte finish, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So let me get this all finished, and I'll bring you back for the final product.